was proven, of course, that there was no interference. Mike Pence, the an Israeli news anchor on Friday, claimed that the Haredi, the ultra-Orthodox community here in Israel, are bloodsuckers from the overall country, meaning they take money from them and they don't give back. They don't fight in the army and things like that. The president of the news station condemned what was said. You don't refer to a whole sector in a generalized term like that. Even the Prime Minister, Benjamin Netanyahu, was very upset. He said her remarks are reminiscent of the German rhetoric before World War II. I will say this. Of course, you shouldn't generalize about an entire sector here in Israel. There's a lot of people that do work, that do serve in the army. The money they get is from other nonprofits. But I do disagree with the idea of a kollel system where everyone sits and learns. I think people should be responsible for themselves. A lot of nations are on the brink of economic collapse as they have borrowed a lot of money from China. And China has pretty strong terms with collecting their loans, as opposed to other countries like the United States and France and Japan, who are softer in retrieving their loans for developing countries like Zambia, countries in Africa or Eastern Asia. And generally, if they're not able to pay, they let them either give them a break, they don't have to pay at all, or at least defer the loans. China does it confidentially, and they make sure they get paid back. And because they're getting paid back, a lot of the people working in these countries for the government are not getting their salaries. And there's a question whether they'll default or not. I will say this on a personal level: when you borrow money, it's expected that people are going to want it back. Maybe it's not a good idea to borrow large sums from China. Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray have the Denver Nuggets one win away from the NBA Finals. I think this is really the recipe to succeed in the NBA. You need one person who's really talented to be in charge of the ball, and that's Jamal Murray. I wouldn't say he's the best player in the NBA or one of the top players in the NBA, but he is an elite player, a 1A type player, and you definitely have a former two-time MVP, Nikola Jokic, as the anchor of the team. So Nikola Jokic doesn't need the ball in his hands. They even have a good third option, Michael Porter Jr. To have one person who's handling the ball as an elite player and two other players who can play off that and score in other positions, don't need the ball in their hands. That's the recipe for success in the NBA. That's why Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic failed so miserably in Dallas. You can't have two people that need the ball. It's good to have one person who's good with the ball and others to support him. It has been noted that a lot of insiders, people who share a lot of shares of McDonald's from the company, in the past year have sold a lot of the company's stock. They sold it when it was at $256. Now it's currently at $296, which tells you that even though it was an upward trajectory, they feel the company is not sustainable. Eventually, the price will go down. I've paid close attention to McDonald's stock. It's been on my watch list for the past couple of years. During COVID, McDonald's was one of the few stocks that basically didn't really go down that much. It has increased by $60 a share over the past 2 years. It's a consumer staple, like Coca-Cola, where it's not discretionary. People need to eat. They go out to eat for cheap food. I think overall McDonald's is a great stock to have. I'm really not sure why people are selling. The new Netflix show Jewish Matchmaking aired last week on Netflix. People are calling it a success, at least in the Jewish community. The star of the show is the shadchan, a matchmaker named Eliza Bar Shalom, who is good in front of the camera. She's really the best one for the part. She didn't even know the people she was setting up before she actually sets them up on the dates during the show. She's a typical shadchan. She's encouraging. She makes it work. And a lot of the terms she uses I'm very familiar with because I went through the same shidduch system as an Orthodox Jew. She deals not just solely with Orthodox Jews, any Jews. I will say this: when you watch the show, you see how inferior the men are. All the good men, because primarily she deals with people who are secular. All the good men are not in matchmaking. The good men find their women other ways. The men in matchmaking are inferior to the women.